Hi guys, in this tutorial we're going to have a look at Lambda expressions and we'll start new project for that. So if we just type something like Lambda, then I'll create a new package and get some boilerplate code done. So we're extending JavaFX application and we'll need a starting point. Actually, I'm going to increase the font just a bit. Yeah, that should be better. So in main we'll need to launch our application. And here we'll set our scene as per usual with create content method, which will generate the content of the scene, and we'll show the scene afterwards. We'll use a pane to the as a root of the scene graph. We'll set size 600 and 600. Just return roots. So this will generate, well, this basically will pass this object to the scene as the root node. Although we'll need to have access to the scene itself, so instead of creating there, we'll take it out to here, and then we'll be able to set various key press, mouse button listeners, and things like that, which are essentially the topic of this tutorial, so the Lambda expressions. All right, so if we were to use an older JDK like 7, then you would do something like that. So you would create a new event handler, you would create an anonymous class, key event as parameter. So you'll need to import these things. And then you'll also, or you would implement a method, which is just a single method in this case. And in fact, you can only generate a Lambda expression for a single method interface. We'll talk about in a minute. So this is what you would do in JDK 7. You would create an anonymous class and then override that single method. And if we were to just create a method that will handle the event outside of this, so that we could pass this event object to the handler right here. So handle key event, which takes key event and does something with that event. What we'll do is call that event or the method with the event, so that you don't actually code your stuff in here. Otherwise, it will just get messy, and it'll be very easy to lose track of your code. So you would do something like that even with older JDKs. So what we now have the ability for is to use something called a Lambda expression, which is essentially it is similar to a method if you look closely enough, in that it has similar signature. So you will have the input type, and this is what we have for input type for our handle key event method. Then it has the Lambda operator, which is essentially just an arrow sign. Then there goes the method body, which is handle key event, so we'll just call that. And as you can see here, we have the input type, which is for methods right here. Then we have method body, or the Lambda expression body, which is in between the curly braces for methods. And because this particular method doesn't return anything, and setting key pressed expects an interface which has that single method, which also doesn't return anything, so we don't return anything. Otherwise, there would be a fourth part to the Lambda expression, which would return certain type or object of that type. Now, you don't actually need to do this. I mean, you don't need to specify the type because the compiler can infer that information. So what you could do is just do that. So semantically, those things are exactly the same. In fact, all of that is essentially the same thing. Although in the actual implementation, they will differ. The optimizations done behind the scenes will also differ. And as a sort of final thing here, to make it even more simple and simpler, you could pass a method reference. So it's like passing a function saying whenever this particular thing happens, so when the key is pressed, call a particular function, and that function is this one, the method. And this is what we call a method reference, so you're referencing a method. This can only be done if the signature of the method is exactly the same as the method that you'll need to override in the interface that this method is expecting. So it expects event handler interface, and if we go there, we'll see that it's a functional interface that only has one method, one unimplemented method, because you can have default methods which have bodies, method bodies. So as long as the interface has only one unimplemented method, it is considered to be a functional interface. And those interfaces can be used to target or for Lambda expression targets. So first of all, you'll need to pass the object from which you're going to call that method reference, which is in our case this object, which is an instance of this Lambda app class, because this method is not static, it's instance level method. So the notation is then double colons, which basically say belong to, if we were to translate to English. And then the name of the method that you're trying to reference without calling it. So when you do that, those brackets, then you're calling the method. In this particular case, we're not calling the method, we're referencing it, saying when the key is pressed, call that method. So it will be called back, and this method will be executed. So essentially, all those four statements have exactly the same semantics, although different syntax. And just to make the tutorial a bit more interesting, we'll actually do something with the key event. So we'll create a text from the event code or key code, which will return, yeah, let's just do it to string, which will return the key that was pressed. So if we just uncomment these, because these are doing the same thing, really. So we'll need to import text from JavaFX. Make sure that everything is imported from JavaFX, because AWT also has similar class names. we'll need to set font to something bigger, so you could easily see it in the video. 22 should do. We'll then use a circular shape to define the animation. So this is going to be an animation of letters, essentially. Circle 100. We'll move that circle to the center of the screen, which is 300 and 300. We'll then need to, actually before we do anything, we need to make sure to have added our node to the root. What else? We'll create a path transition. First import that. Duration seconds 2. Our path is going to be a circle shape, and the node is going to be text, the node that we're animating. BT set auto reverse true. So this will do one full circle animation in 2 seconds and then go back because of the reverse thingy. Set cycle count indefinite, animation indefinite, and just play the animation. So that we can actually remove those. No longer need them. So as you can see, the Lambda expressions and method references allow you to write more elegant code, I suppose. It also removes the need for unnecessary too verbose sort of code. So you don't actually need to create or write lots of things. You can just do something like a method reference. So if we run this, we'll see an empty screen. And when we start typing just random letters, you'll see this nice sort of animation. Although I'm not sure if it has any practical value, like where you would use this. Well, you could, I guess, use it as a loading something, I know, like loading or progress bar. You can add more letters. Creates kind of circular effect because of the shape it's using for path transition. You could actually play around with that because what it takes is a shape. So it doesn't have to be particular built-in shape. You could build your own shapes. So if we do something like that, new rectangle 100. Because rectangles, circles, they all extend shape, so we could do subtract. Shape subtract one from another, so rectangle is the one we're subtracting from. Circle is the second parameter. So if we do that, translate x. And pass shape instead. Not actually sure what's going to happen. Well, it kind of is cool, I suppose. So what we've done here was we created a rectangle and then we subtracted a circle from it. So essentially got a very interesting shape, which it uses to do path transition. And if we didn't do that, and added shape directly to the root node, we could actually see what kind of shape it is. Color blue. Get children. Actually, I might delete this. So yeah, that's the shape that we got, and that's the shape it uses, the letters use to perform the animation. All right, so we've kind of covered Lambda expressions. I didn't go into too much detail because there's just a lot of information on the internet, especially Oracle tutorials. They're the best to get hang of the essential syntax and semantics built into Java language. Yeah, so you also kind of covered shapes and path transitions, I guess. And hopefully you've liked it. Thanks for watching.